Guten Morgen. Here boo boo. Yeah. All right, we got a stock market opening pretty soon. You guys ready? All right, well, let's get rid of the music. Let's get on with it. Welcome to Forex.Today, the YouTube community of more than 21,000 foreign exchange traders. We gather here today to conduct technical and fundamental analysis with the overriding goal of planning our trades in advance because trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, never risk money you cannot afford to lose. Ni hao ma, my name is Wayne. Gotta have good coffee. Life's too short for bad coffee, don't you stink? Bump, 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 bump. All right, so what we are doing here is we're looking at traders.com, way to fully automate your technical and fundamental analysis. We also have many hours and hours and hours and hours and hours a day of performance coaching. Yeah, that many hours, no joke. And for execution, tradersway.com, tradersway. So you need to have a good strategy and tactics, so fundamentals and technicals, and then you need execution. When you put all those things together, you have a sound trading business. Yeah. So what's going on? Well, we're pushing 95 now on Biddy, but nothing else is really going on. Oil finally hit 70, but yields skyrocketed, which probably indicates another rally in the stock market, as you know, NVIDIA reports after the close. That's going to impact things. Gold's up a little bit, dollar's up a little bit, but overall, not a lot to do. So be careful with that. Yeah, I heard there was activity on the news feed. There was a lot of discussion over the last 12 hours about Doge. Yeah. But anywho, looking at today's calendar, inflation was quite high in the UK, huh? Yeah, it was 1.7, which was remarkably low. But now, bada bing, bada boom, 2.3. Next up on the calendar is NVIDIA, and then followed by that will be Bank of Japan. What you should probably be doing right now is using your implied volatility tool for trading at the open. Okay. And you can see when it comes to the S&P, we are at the hourly implied high. So if you're going to buy a dip somewhere, you probably want to look around the hourly 4-hour implied low. The spread between those is quite high at the moment. Okay, now you compare and contrast that with the Aussie yen, for example. The implied low is down here around 101. So if you were a buyer of this, you'd probably want to thread it together like this, where you have an up, you have a down, and an up. Okay? So anyways, notice like everything is ready to pop, but it is the open. So as I just explained to you, Lucy, here's the implied low, and we're on the move. Oscar Mike. Pretty cool tool, isn't it? Yeah, it's actually quite complicated. Okay, it's actually quite complicated. Taking a look at gold. Once again, looks like you've already missed it. It dropped to the implied low, and now we are on the move. And to do these calculations, you look at gold on Wednesdays at this time of day, and you do it weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Every Wednesday at this time of day, going back weeks and weeks and weeks, you look at the high and the low, the high and the low, the high and the low, and high and the low, hourly and 4 hour, but on a rotating, rolling basis. And after all those many, many, many calculations, it almost never goes lower than this zone. Historically. Now, of course, it could. And if something fundamentally changed, you could be down there. But if you are simply a bull on gold, that was a buying opportunity. And that's quantitative. That's not looking at price. It's not looking at the fundamentals of gold. It's not looking at central bank purchases. That's just the implied low based on what it has done in the past. Now, that doesn't predict future results, but maybe it's helpful. Okay, maybe we'll break out of that range today, huh? But anyways. I'm looking for congruency in what assets are actually moving. Pound stronger than CAD. Pound stronger than Kiwi. Okay. Dollar strength here versus euro. Okay, that came out 43 minutes ago. And the pattern is exhibiting weakness, and therefore that's an opportunity. Going further out, 2 hours ago, you were given a setup of a price is high in a falling channel. So that was an opportunity 2 hours ago, and you can see we have a long ways to go yet. Pound dollar in the 60 minutes is up, but you may not want that. So you might want to double check. Okay, pound stronger than Kiwi. So it just looks like pound is strong at the moment relative to some of the other currency pairs. I don't know if you even want cross pairs right now. You might simply be looking for trends. Aussie Swissy, this is an opportunity. Ascending triangle is strength. Okay, and buying at the bottom of the channel is an opportunity. Okay. CAD Swissy, rising wedge is strength. And buying at the bottom is an opportunity. Now, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, what do you mean opportunities and strengths? So it's SWOT analysis: strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. And if you look at the link below the video, you can download basically a cheat sheet, flashcards, so that you know what all these mean. Now, I've taken out all the complicated, like harmonic type patterns, so these are pretty straightforward, but you still should know the difference because, if you don't know, you might just look at these arrows. Sometimes it draws arrows, and you're like, that's a signal. No, it's not. It's not a signal. It's just showing you the direction of the next leg of the pattern. So, like, this is a down channel with an up arrow. That's not a buy. The next leg is up. The trade is to sell. You only sell channels. You see down channels. You see that? So you got to kind of, so make sure you download those. You might appreciate them. And it kind of looks like everything except Ethereum is up. Uh-oh. So next leg of Bitcoin is up. Next leg, right? ADA up. Next leg for Ripple up. These are all opportunities. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. But the thing is, TRADARS saves you that kind of time. We can burn through a lot of charts very quickly. These are all tip of the spear type trades because they're all short term. Looking at gold, okay, 30-minute, that's an opportunity. Silver on the hourly and on the 30-minute shows bearishness. Oil at the apex and right in a bullish pattern, but it's struggling. So we'll see if we can get beyond that. 30-minute. So basically we're just zooming in here. We have a rising channel, and it's suggesting that it could break to the upside on the apex. Doesn't necessarily have to. Let's look at the stock indices. You're probably trading the stock indices today. NASI, okay, you got a heads up on the 15-minute chart an hour ago. A down channel with an opportunity to sell high, and it's already collapsed. So you've already missed the entire pattern. Thank you, TRADARS. So you got the heads up on that vertical line an hour ago, more than an hour ago. Probably an hour and 15 minutes ago. And it's gone. You missed it. Too bad, so sad. Maybe you should subscribe. What do you stink? Smell like a plan? Okay, what else going on here? Just seeing... ooh, ASX. That's interesting. Look at the ASX. It's doing pretty okay. Look at that. That came out yesterday in the Asian session. And boy, yeah, still working its way up. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Lovely. Lovely, tell your mum. I just want to look at these U.S. markets since that's what's opening now. And looks like 3 days ago, 3 days ago, got a heads up to maybe buy a dip on the S&P 500. Okay, and let me zoom in. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, when you zoom in, you can see, you don't have to be a brain surgeon or even worse, a rocket surgeon. Okay. So that's what you want to look for. And we're also connecting these, right? So it seems like we've entered a plausible zone to accumulate a new position. So the pattern is down and then up, right? Seems logical, doesn't it? Now, lower than that would be very bearish, wouldn't it? But right now we have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Hey, maybe a higher low, higher high. What do you stink? Yet, right, Peter? Yeah, it's nice. ASX is nice. In particular, in the Asian session, when maybe the U.S. markets are quiet, you're like, is ASX a good? Yeah. Also, Hong Kong. Hong Kong is another one that sometimes is a nice one to trade, in particular in the Asian session, right? Yeah. It's a goodie. It's a good one. Right? So like I have mine out here where you look at stocks. You go to Hong Kong. Okay. The cool thing about Hong Kong is like the top that it hit was precisely, you see that? Precisely the annual M4. And look at annual M2, annual M3. Oh my gosh. So these traders absolutely use pivot points. Absolutely. So now it'll be interesting, like if you start connecting some of these dots, is it going to fall all the way back to the central pivot point? Well, at what point do we start buying it back, right? So the first op, of course, is the roll reversal. And the second one would be the lower low, whatever, the primary buy line. So the general idea could be something like this. If you believe in a Chinese comeback. Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's another nice one to trade. Cool, right? Beautifully traded. Beautifully. In my humble opinion, institutional traders absolutely trade this. And so right now, like, look at our lower high is also very precisely the annual R1. So, when we get down to here, it's got to be an enticing opportunity for some. It's just got to be, because it trades so technically. Well, I think the bigger thing, Richard, now is tariffs. That's going to be the bigger thing now. We'll see. What I would like to see is that there is brutal talk amongst Xi and Trump, but ultimately they collaborate. Okay. They both need to save face, but ultimately they do have many aligned agendas. And so collaborate, right? So you'll signal defect, but ultimately you'll collaborate. That's the idea. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, like, what would Trump, aka the United States, would like to do? I think we'd like to keep China an ally and a friend because we make each other rich. But to do so, I think what we should do is you say to China, we're gonna decimate Iran and Russia. We're going to take them out of the picture. We're going to isolate the heck out of those countries. And so, hey, President Xi, you want oil? America's going to drill, baby, drill, and we are going to sell you as much American oil as you need, as long as we have a more fair and balanced trade policy with each other. So you're going to buy our wheat and our corn, our soybeans and our sorghum, and our oil. And we'll continue to do business with you. But you have to help us isolate Iran and Russia. What do you think? Do you like my plan? We want to trade more with China, not less. Yeah. So anyways, my name is Wayne McDonald, and I am the first Canadian to run for President of the United States. I hope I have your vote. Hey, Lucas, do foreigners buy sorghum, or is it a domestic market? Or is it sort of like, I don't know, kind of both, like neither here nor there? I know very little about sorghum. I need to get into sorghum. China buys some. Such an interesting thing. Need to get into it. Blue? I'm not even sure what you mean. It seems like a little bit of dark humor. ASX, yeah, is a good one. Okay. Oh, is that what it is? It's feed. Okay, I can think of it as feed, huh? I was at a farm that had, a store where you can buy local stuff, and they had like sorghum maple syrup or syrup, I would guess it is sorghum syrup or something like that. And I forget what it was exactly, and I kind of regret not buying it, but I definitely thought of you. I'm like, interesting. But it's feed. Okay, that's a good way to think of it. So, can you hedge sorghum, or do you have to like use hog futures to hedge sorghum? Like, how do you handle that risk, Lucas? So there's a relationship between corn and sorghum. Corn is feed, sure, but it's also food, yes, and it's also energy. Seems like they could correlate a lot, but also in periods not correlate. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, very, 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 very interesting. Yeah, see, that's why I want to go to FarmCon. The more I think about it, the more I want to go to learn about these things. I mean, for example, is sorghum better feed for chicken than other sources of feed? Like, does it offer better protein or nutrients somehow than corn? Because, corn's not, corn is very starchy, isn't it? It's basically sugar. Is sorghum better? That I don't know, but I guess if you can make syrup out of it, it's also starchy. I'd like to know more. Lovely. Lovely. So anyways, FTSE at the bottom of its range, right? Well, Richard, that doesn't seem right in this case, especially if much of your product is sold domestically. There's no need to hedge the dollar, but if sorghum prices go up, hog prices probably come down. Or maybe I'm wrong on that. It's more expensive to feed the hog, so the hog gets more expensive, but then there's an oversupply because demand drops, or I don't know, but there's an interesting relationship. And this FarmCon that I've talked about a few times is held in St. Louis, which is funny because I've never been to St. Louis in my entire life, and suddenly I've been there twice this year. And early next year, like in January, there's this thing called FarmCon. It's a huge conference right there on the Mississippi, downtown, right near the Fed, where I've been twice now, is this FarmCon, and it's for farmers, but the whole thing is about trading and investing. It's a financial markets. It's a trading conference for farmers. And I'm like, I can learn a lot about farming. I can learn about hedging. I can learn about all kinds of things. And now I'm interested. Maybe I can help farmers retire better off. Yeah, it's early January, David. Early January. And it just seems absolutely fascinating. And a buddy of mine who runs a hedge fund, he's now talking to big, I wouldn't say farmers, but like slaughter houses, I guess you would talk, or hog, big corporate hog farmers or something like that. The ones that do, they buy millions of dollars of sorghum to feed their hogs, right? Millions in a year, right? So. Right. Now, Lucas, we were talking about that, setting up retirement pension funds for farmers. Do you think farmers would put aside $60,000 a year into a retirement account? Or is that like extraordinarily too much money for a typical farmer? That would be my next question. Because I was thinking about doing such a thing for entrepreneurs, but many entrepreneurs are flaky. Well, but is it unrealistic, Lucas? Like, let's say at the end of the year and you do your harvest and you have X amount of money, and X amount of money needs to go to all these different expenses, would a farmer say, well, before you pay yourself kind of thing, like you got to pay this, you got to pay that, and you got to put $60K into that retirement account? Is that realistic? Or you're like, dude, that's what a farmer lives on for the whole entire year. They're not going to put aside 100% of their net worth or their income. And like, okay, yes, a farmer would need to be making, let's say, $300,000 a year at the family level, right? And then chunk aside $60K, so now their taxable income is $240,000, that kind of thing, or something close to that. Yeah, well, that's the thing, though, right? So, Lucas, they're doubling down, which is risky, versus essentially hedging, right? If you already have a farm, more farm means when things are good, it's more good, but when things are bad, it's more bad. It's more like you need to tuck $60K aside so that when you retire, the farm is a business with income and expenses, but your retirement account is a nest egg. Yeah. So to me, Lucas, I'm glad we talked about this a few days ago, because it's really caught my brain. It feels, because, I grew up in wheat country and wheat farmers and barley farmers and what we used to call rapeseed. I don't know what they call it now, to make your canola oil, Canadian low acidic vegetable oil, right? But so anyways, I grew up with grain farmers, and, these farms are massive businesses. But you're right. You might be a farmer and you're good at budgeting and planning, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily good at finance. But with most farmers now hedging, they understand some of the financial markets. And anyways, so I think it's like a fascinating sort of client to work with. But like you said, they know about doubling down and buying more land, but that is risky. So it's like, could we help? How about this? Would I enjoy helping farmers set up their corporate pension funds so that they have a retirement account? Yeah, I think I actually would. I would like that. Yeah. David, that would be great. I think the tickets are $1,000, if I remember. But they get like 10,000 people, 10,000 farmers, and it seems really interesting. And Denise, it fits in the same sort of model, right? Like you and I have been talking about for years of, providing low risk and steady income, and it's all the same thing, but you have to set it up. For most people that haven't retired yet, you have to set up certain types of investing accounts. And so I've been exploring different ways to do that. And do you do it as a hedge fund? Well, that's pretty easy, except then you need to be quite wealthy and quite sophisticated to invest. And then, so if I want to then advertise to the general public, then I got to set it up in a different way. And there are limitations to that. And then do I set it up into an ETF? So you just can just buy the thing, but then you're in the business of marketing this ETF, and and it's expensive to run, and it doesn't earn much income. So you're like, ooh, you need, that kind of stuff. You need like $1 billion to make any money. So then you're like, then what? And then I thought, well, I could help small businesses set up pension funds, but basically solopreneurs. And maybe people with, the companies that put roofs on houses or, that kind of stuff, like your basic small business. But we all know those guys are quite flaky. And usually the people like that, as soon as they make money, they want to buy a $75,000 Ford F-150. it's sure pretty, right? And drive around and they're like, oh, I'm going to put my business magnet on the side. Like that's some sort of like big, smart marketing move. And I'm like, no, that it's a giant waste of money. But that's pretty typical for a small business owner that doesn't know much about money and finance. They're trying to be an electrician, but they spend all the money as soon as they get it. So the risk is I go through all that work, and at the end of 1 or 2 years, these guys are not contributing to their retirement account. They're just spending it. And so I wasted all my time. So then what? And I had this conversation with my wife the other day. We were talking about how, Home Depot is really interesting, where there's some stuff that's cheap. So you want to buy lights for your house, but they're the cheapest crap. And they just don't even really work. They're so cheap. But then you can buy like this crazy barbecue that stacks 3 stories high. It's got conduction. It's got wood shelves. I'm like, who the hell buys this stupid barbecue? Like, it's so pimped out. And yet it's all just cheap and gimmicky too. And I'm like, but people walk in, they're like, look at that. I'll buy this for me for Christmas. It's only $2,000. And I'm like, it's a really strange thing. People want cheap, but then they spend. And I'm like, it's a really interesting thing when you analyze society like that. You're like, what kind of people do this, right? And then I brought up my childhood where I'm like, when I worked with farmers are quiet, hardworking people. It's a complicated business to run. You have to be a chemist. You have to be a mechanic. You have to be a financial trader to trade futures and options. You need to know how to grow things, and meanwhile, you might be running your great-great-grandfather's land. Like, I knew people like this. And I said, these are salt of the earth people. And I said, when I was a kid with growing up around farmers, they were very used to feast and famine. In fact, I made a comment. My wife's like, yeah, feast and famine. I'm like, you're right. When times are good, farmers save. And if they don't need a $75,000 Ford F-150 all pretty red with giant wheels on it, and that's not what they do. That's not what farmers do. They realize like this year was good, but golly, gee whiz, next year could be horrible. So they save. And I'm like, that's who I want to work with, I'm like, that's cool. And it just struck me like lightning. Like, that is cool. Yeah, that is cool. Andrew says, do you expect John Deere to be bullied by Trump? Yeah. Yeah, Lucas. Yeah, and I like that. Especially when you say, you contribute a little bit over a period of time, but when you sit down with the farmer and you do the math and you just explain this little bit over a period of time can change the boom and bust cycle of being a farmer. Like, how would you like to know the amount of money you will have when you're too old to farm and you're ready to hand the farm over to your children or a giant corporation? But would you like to know that there's a nest egg at the end that can take care of you and your family the rest of your life? And that, yeah, I think it would resonate, because being a farmer is tough. So at the end of it, and we all know too, the average farmer is, what is it, 53? The average farmer in America is 53. So what are we going to do in 12 years, everybody? Who's going to grow our food when the average farmer is a senior citizen? Yeah. David, it's I think it's FarmCon. Yeah, here it is. See, the best investment you'll make in your business all year. So farming as a business, right? Like, I like the attitude. 500 ag businesses. Oh, it's only 1,000 attendees. Oh, my bad. Okay, but you see, can I zoom in? Yeah, so trading conferences and investing conferences for farmers. And I'm like, I mean, I know how to do it, but to me, it's so interesting to have a different point of view on the same thing. Let me get this back to proper. Oh, it is proper. So a different point of view to the Forex market, a different point of view to options and futures. But then again, here's the guy that runs it. I'd like to learn more about farming. In fact, I was a year ago, I almost signed up for a year-long farming class. Yeah, there's a 1-year program to learn about the farming and ag business. So anyways, attend the event. So it's $1,000, like I said. Oh, we can split a VIP table. So anyways, there's no agenda, huh?
Well, thanks, Kevin, for having us. I tell you, I look forward to this every year. It's a great opportunity to get a lot of new ideas starting.
To me, we got Ohio and Indiana at record production.
Hurts all of us in this room. They're coming into you. Now I'm going to get a little political here. I never do that before.
All right, so whatever. There must be some sort of agenda somewhere, but so I don't know. I'm quite interested. Well, David, South Africa needs some farming help. Maybe you can learn how to farm and go back to South Africa and take over a farm. How does that sound? You're like, Kansas sounds better. Yeah. Yeah, I know. You're like, Kansas sounds a whole lot better. Yeah. Iowa. Yeah, well, David, don't you just put them in a pen? The equipment? Yeah. 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 Oh, I can't farm this year. Tigers ate my equipment. So, anyways, I'm having too much fun. We're still on the footsie. Yeah, your farming equipment was also a wedding gift. So anyways, just kind of looking at a couple of these things. That's weekly, so we drop down into the daily, and there's a pop and drop and now a roll reversal. Kind of interesting. ASX, huh? ASX. So maybe a smaller time frame. It's kind of maybe getting ready to kick off that 21. You can see I have a couple of different things showing channels, right? I think you can see these channels down here. Those are drawn automatically. Then you see my pivot, my price action pivot points, and those are drawn automatically and update automatically. And we got, looks like probably 3 standard deviations above the mean, and it collapsed back into the averages. And you can see the 21 EMA on this 4 hours acting sort of as the mean. Like if I were to draw this differently, it probably would look like this, right? Which is about the 21. Okay? Because it's not always like this. Okay? It's not always like this. It often can be. But when it comes to ranges, very often what it's like is this, 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 and then you break to the upside, and then it's this level, right? And then it drops to the slower level. And there's like an aggressive level and a conservative level of bullishness. And the mean somewhere in there, right? So it could kick back up and stay aggressively bullish versus conservatively bullish. So we'll see on the ASX. Let's go look. Oops. No, I wanted the dollar pairs here. Dollar pairs. Yeah, and so we've been screaming bloody murder about US dollar strength. Look at that. Straight up into our sell zone. Now, I created that sell zone, I think it was Friday, and it really took off on Monday. Luftliftuljumum. And yeah, bottom of the range, so we've had our big move. What we've seen over the last few days is it hits the target and stops. That's what happened yesterday. Big dive on the open and an immediate pullback. And then today, big dive on the open. Yeah, but that's how you trade opens, right? Okay. Pachow. And dollar has continued its strength move. Okay. Look further back here. Okay. This isn't actually very valid. I'll get rid of that. That's nonsense. But now the question is, is the continuation, we have it pegged as, see, this top predicts this bottom, right? So the question is this the move that's in play now? If you're looking at the central pivot point as being the top, then it's really S2. It's even further. Oh God, as Kanye would say, huh? So is that the next move? Well, that's what the moving averages suggest, right? That's what the pivot points suggest. Okay. Here's our Aussie dog. The dingo. Oh, the dingo ate the baby. Okay. And just straight up roll reversal. Okay, no diggity, no doubt. Okay, just a straight up roll reversal. Okay, Luftliftuljumum. And that could be a long ways down, fella. Okay, the target here is, let me exit for you. Time for me to exit. Terminator, exit. Bring the noise. My 98's a booming in my trunk with funk. All you punks can't stop my dunks. Anyways, there you go. Oh, goodness gracious. Great balls of fire. What's your favorite, Dre? You got a request? Anything from the 90s. Uh-huh. Because everybody wants to hear a white boy that dresses like Jerry Seinfeld rap some Public Enemy. It's just what the world wants and demands, quite frankly. Demands. Yeah, there's a whole lot. Yeah, great. I got the greatest compliment the other day. I'm in the grocery store, and I got a crimson sweater on and a crimson hat, so both Harvard. And this African-American dude, he comes by, and he's like, hey, man, I like the sweater. Looks good with the hat. And then all of a sudden, I kick my shoes out. I'm like, don't forget the shoes. And I got crimson shoes, Nikes on, right? Vintage crimson Nikes. And he's like, oh, that's cool, brother. And I'm like, I got home and I told my wife and kids, it was such a compliment. He's like, he called me his brother. I'm like, that's so cool. I'm an old white man with gray hair, but I got the greatest compliment. Like, yeah, I'm in. Like, I'm in. And that guy in St. Louis, too, he must have been about my age, right? And he pulls me over and he's like, you're fly as shit. I'm like, that's so nice of you. Yeah, it was so funny. So anyways, I'm getting the compliments. I got the A game these days. How nice is that? Got A game. Yeah, got the A game. Yens, I think, are having a tough time. We'll see. Okay, gotta go farther out. And stuck in the middle of the range. Boo. Now I don't want to look at the yens. It's a heartbreak hotel type situation, huh? Heartbreak hotel. I don't want to know. Don't want to know. These are all hopeful. So all of them, you got to put back and find your daily support in your analysis. And these drops are probably ops. These drops are ops. Opportunities to buy low. But it's frustratingly slow, Yeah, frustratingly slow. So if you're getting the dips, you're great. The problem is 8 hours later, you're like, oh, thank God I'm up 100 pips. 8 hours after that, you're back near break even. You're like, it's hard to hang on to the bucking bronco, Yeah. S&P having a blood day, pullback targeting down here. Blood day. Silver actually trying to catch a bid. I kind of gave up on this one a little bit, but look at this is yesterday's work working today. That's how we're supposed to be trading. Yesterday sets up today. Just think about it like if you're just planning your trades now, you've already failed. You should always be planning tomorrow's trades. In my humble opinion. Okay, I still have oil as coming back down to support, maybe even breaking through. We're testing the daily 21, which is a sell. Okay, taking a look at gold. I would like gold to go up. But the thing is, if the chart's not bullish, it's difficult, right? But right now, it is working. We have it all planned out. These are my predictive EMAs, not my lagging, but my leading EMAs. But really, it's just a daily pivot. And now we've hit target. So if you're thinking about now you should buy gold, no, you should have thought about it yesterday. Okay, and really, you're getting ready for the next down and the next up. Whoop. So anyways. And that's the world according to Wayne. Peace on earth, may the pips